All right, so playoffs are about to start for the NFL. Things are about to heat up. We're about to see who is going to advance and get on their way to getting a Super Bowl. With that being said, the biggest topic, really, to be honest, because everybody else is kind of newish. Drake May's first time, Trevor Lawrence, he's back after a while. I was like, can Justin Herbert do this after the injuries? I was like the Broncos, the Seahawks. I was like, can the Eagles keep on doing what they've been doing and still win a Super Bowl? Whatever. Some of the storylines is kind of just not really there as much because it's a new crop of like characters like on the AFC side. On the NFC, and it's kind of some of the same old, same old. But anyway, what's really the main thing right now with Josh Allen? Is this really his best chance? Now, this has been sort of the narrative for the last 2 months. Once it sort of was like the Chiefs aren't going to make it. Now, definitely the Ravens aren't going to be in there, even though they beat the Ravens. Um, that this is his best chance. But while that is being said, it's also his worst team, quote unquote. It is hard. I was like, it is going to be very hard for him to do that when this is his worst team that he probably actually had. Now, I will say that we're talking about, and going against his team from past years. Yes, this is probably the more uh, calcium deficient uh, team. I was like, this is not no whole milk here. This is some skim milk with this team. With that being said, he still has a really good team. And the whole narrative right now is that if he doesn't do this, then what? What is what is this? And so from different people, no matter if it's from, you know, some Nick Wright, some Dominique Foxworth, Mina I would like Kimes, and all these other different people, is it's difference of opinions on all of this. But here recently, and I was like, this has been, I was like, and no matter if it's Orlowski or Green, whatever, they're all sort of saying this is worst team, but he's also his best chance to do it. And I think that both things can be right. I just think that now we're just at a level where it really doesn't matter with John Allen because I think that I was like, he has a built in excuse either way. Now, if he, I was like, he has the worst team, his receivers, all this other stuff. That if he doesn't go crazy, if he doesn't do Josh Allen, who is the best quarterback in the league, if he doesn't wow you and do all these things, then it's like, oh, his team, it's already built up for him. But guess what? If he is able to win, then it's like, look how great he is. He did it in spite of all these deficiencies that he had on his team. So, it is his best year. Yes, but the defenses in the AFC are actually at a high rate of tough place to play. The Patriots, they split a game, so therefore you could say like, hey, third time you don't know where that's going to go. But I was like, they've already shown that the Patriots can show that they can beat the Bills. And if you want to look at that other game, the second one, I was like the Bills had to come back. Now, you want to say I was like, while he may be the best quarterback of this group, the Broncos had a top defense. The Jaguars have a top defense. Houston has already beaten with their top defense. So it is already at the point where it's like, yeah, if those defenses play at a high level and those quarterbacks can just play a confident level, which you want to say about Trevor Lawrence, I like CJ Stroud, I like Bo Nix can get hot. Hey, he might have his work like out for him. But then let's go back to the whole because I was like, I sort of been coming at Josh this whole year because of how the media treats him, not really him himself. Because I feel like they do. I did a thing with Nick Wright where he said that they demonize him and patronize him at the same time. And I think that's sort of true. Where it's just like how I just said, it's like, oh man, I'm like, he could do no wrong. But at the same time, if he doesn't do this, then what? He garbage, you know. But anyway, so Mina Kimes and Dominique Foxworth sort of got into a conversation, and it really, I feel like they're also doing a disservice to Josh Allen, the whole thing at the same time. They're basically talking about how I just told you that everybody's over here saying this is his best chance while being on the. I was like, and Mina Kimes goes into a whole thing where she's like, where she's talking about how the defense has been bad, the receiver. It's a team sport, and which is not necessarily untrue. Uh, and Dominique Foxworth was saying that his whole theory has been that this has been a setup so that we could trash Josh Allen if he doesn't get it done, which I think is ludicrous just because there's never any bashing of Josh Allen. I was like, we've forgiven turnover where we're just like, hey, sometimes when you're just great, you're going to just be reckless with the ball. And it's like, what? That has not ever been the thing at all for the last couple of years. The reason why we got rid of so many quarterbacks is because like throwing too many picks. And now it's like, well, with him it's different. Okay, whatever. I was like, running the ball. Man, it's always seemed to be a demerit, but now it's great. You look at the way he runs the ball. He's like a running back there, which was never what anybody wanted to be called. Now, I will say to need credit that the trashing will happen just because that's how things go with the internet. But with the media and the pundits, that's not how any of them react. And to be honest, on the internet, a lot of people here do treat Josh Allen fairly well. And I have seen it start to turn a little bit just because I think that everybody is hearing the narrative so much that at some point it's kind of like, wait, hold on, are we doing this like we're overdoing it? Don't get me wrong, the internet will turn on you in general, but there's also a point where it's like, hold up, y'all giving him so much like grace that can we just chill a bit? Anyway, I do think that now the narrative will be of if he does. I think if you go down the first round, I think it is what it is. But I think it's pretty much if he gets toward like the AFC Championship game, then I can see it kind of just like. But most of it is going to be sorrow and pity, just kind of like how it was like the previous year, where it was like, oh, he lost to the Chiefs again, poor boy. I was like, they had to change the overtime rules for him. See, I'm already doing it where I'm just kind of like, look, I'm not giving that guy that grace or whatever, just because I was just like, why? And I was like, the whole thing about the team sport thing is cool, but I was like, we live in the actual world where that is like BS. Your quarterback is the main guy that we always come to see. They have built the whole thing around whoever is the quarterback. The star is the quarterback. Um, I was like, when you turn on the games, quarterback. You don't have if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a chance to win. That's our whole thing. Hell, the MVP is just nothing but a quarterback award. You want to say winning is not a quarterback stat, but yet at the same time, we will just say that this game is won due to the quarterback. So you can't get to say that all of a sudden now it's a team sport. Now it's woe is him or whatever. It's like we can't do that in him. When it's like no, I was like they make money so absurdly at the quarterback position because that's the main position. You don't. I was like, we can't just be over here like, well, it's a team sport. Sure, it's a team sport, but when you have a quarterback like that, making the money like that, being the focal point like that, the whole operations around him. This is your golden goose. Everybody would try to trade whatever it is to get this quarterback. And they need a top quarterback because why? The quarterback is such a top premium position. You don't get to use it's a team sport. You can say it's a team sport when it's Brock Purdy. You can say it's a team sport when it's Baker Mayfield. When it's Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. And I was like, Joe Burrow's in a weird situation, but even then, you don't get to really get team sport. No, they're the quarterbacks. They're the top. And even those other people I was talking about, guess what? Let them do something not even really wrong, but just not be. We're still, I was like, guess what? We're over here still talking about Sam Darnold, and he's been good last couple years, but it still is on the quarterback. But at the same time, the Vikings garbage because why? Quarterback. You can't. I was like, guess what? The Bears are here because they started figuring out what the quarterback. You don't get to say it's a team sport where everything is pretty much pushed down in everybody's throats about the quarterback. You don't get to use that one. But let's go. Let's go with also as a team sport because this has also been one of my things too that I do think that hey, there's. I was like, and it's a thing that I noticed with the top quarterbacks, but that'll be a video for another day about some of their weapons and stuff like that. But Josh Allen has a really great offensive line. Josh Allen has good tight ends. Josh Allen has Khalil Shakir. I was like a really good receiver. Uh, Josh Allen has the top NFL rusher. Uh, Josh Allen has like a top pass defense. The run defense get ran on, sure, but they've also in the last like month or so you've been looking at the games. I was like they have gotten better, even though it still looks bad. But I was like, but at the same time, that's just sort of how the numbers are going to be at this point. The team is a lot better than anybody gives it credit to. I was like, the fact that it doesn't have the amount of Pro Bowlers and all that other stuff, I was like, that's you got to chalk it up to the teams and the people that evaluate and stuff like that. When it comes to Pro Bowl, that's a little different nowadays as well too. You don't get. I was like, you don't. It's not. It's a way more popularity contest with people dropping out. You can't take it the same way. But with that being said, I also just think that because some of this is also on everybody else because of how they talk about Josh Allen. It's like, wow, look at everything that he's doing that you don't really see that he got other people around. You just like, oh man, Josh Allen, that's crazy. But Donkey K has been a really good tight end until he got hurt. And man, it's crazy after that. Dawson Knox comes up, who was really good before all that. I was like, before they got Kincaid, they were sort of developing together. And guess what? Kincaid come in, but he got two solid tight ends. Shakir, I was like, people were talking about like I seen like him talking about him and Zay Flowers, and I was like, Shakir's really not that much like lesser than Zay Flowers or whatever. The difference is the fact that I was like, who's throwing in the ball? And I was like, Shakir always gets the ball from Josh Allen, but I was like, their threat and like how they do a lot of stuff is really like throwing it so much downfield when it's like you should probably run a lot of stuff through. I was like through Shakir, but he's actually a really good receiver. I was like, James Cook, we don't need to talk about him. I was like, he was a leading rusher. I was like, he's a guy that I was like, I think because I was like, I seen people try to talk about he just a regular running back. If it would have for Josh Allen, but I was like, no, he do be doing a lot of dynamic plays also, and he do be saving the hell out of the Bills a lot of time in this situation. And their O line is basically really good with Dawkins and all of them on the line. They just don't get the credit because it's just Josh Allen back there doing so much whirly bird type of plays that normally other quarterbacks would be killed for. But with him, he's a magician. Anyway, with that being said, I think it's crazy that they will come out and that the way that they would sort of talk is also helping and put on the cape for Josh Allen. And that's the part that I'm like, I'm like nobody is seeing. I'm like, no way, no matter which way you sort of are put in this narrative, you're sort of already helping cushion the blow of whatever happened to Josh Allen. Like, unless, I mean, now granted, yes, if he gets blown out, he has to get blown out with interceptions. And I mean, like, bad interceptions. And even then, it just be like he's going up against a top notch defense. He has to make some plays. He has to do a lot of stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. You might get like you might get like like Orlowski. Like he'll when he does the tape, I was like he'll be a little bit harsh on him in such a way as well too. But for the most part, I feel like nobody ever really speaks their mind. They don't say what it needs to be said about Josh Allen. And I'm like, you can hold him accountable while still thinking he's great. You can still be like, that was a crazy throw. Why did he throw that pass? That's all I'm saying. But it is his best chance of getting there. I think that once I feel like if he could get past the Jacksonville Jaguars, then I think I'm not gonna say it's easy. I'm gonna say it's a lot more manageable just because I think that out of the quarterbacks not named Josh Allen, Lawrence is probably the one that's playing the best right now that can match him blow for blow in a way that I don't know if the other ones will, and they would actually need more contribution from their defense. So that's why I think if we get through Jacksonville, it's a little bit better. Little bit better. Let's not go crazy or whatever. But at the same time, going back to it's a team sport. The reason everybody thinks or giving Josh Allen a fighting chance is because why? He's a quarterback and he's the top quarterback. Nobody is caring if you have a golly gee good team. No, it's because you got a quarterback. And like for instance, Jalen Hurts gets a lot of got a lot of stuff talked about him. But when it's time to play, he goes out here and he can sling that ball around. He can play a lot better in the playoff than he does in the regular season. But sometimes why we're mad at him. That I was like, you could say like, oh, they got every aspect of the team and the quarterback is right. But with other teams where you just like, oh, you're gonna need a little bit more of that team sport. Is some of the other quarterbacks I was talking about earlier, where it's like you're gonna be like, you need a real team's performance, even though the quarterback is playing good. You still be like, And Josh Allen's not it's like, oh, Josh Allen, that dude. But let's not get crazy. That boy be wilding sometimes. Anyway, what do you think about the whole Josh Allen narrative? Do he has to get it done this year, or is his team so bad that there's just no way? Or are you kind of understanding that you're like it's somewhere in the middle? They have a chance because of him, but his team isn't as bad as what they say. But he's going against better teams, and that's where it's a team sport. Kind of does matter. Anyway, let me know what you think. Till then, peace. I'm out.